After veteran actor Clifton Powell goes viral for an argument while participating in a roundtable, the internet thinks older people only take accountability when they're old and it's already too late. Too late. I don't know what Youngin is talking about. My people told me never to admit anything. Then we'll give you an extended Robinson report. We'll share what's on our current rotations or what's giving us life.
Yo, welcome to My Mic Sounds Nice, a freestyle conversation about health, relationships, and culture. We are old and we are still learning, so screw everybody who ain't got enough wisdom in their gray. Yeah, I said it. This is Tim, one of your hosts. Always glad to be in the building. Let's get it.
My mic sounds nice. This is Kevin, aka Reggie Jacks, coming from the Bronx. Thanks for tuning in and sharing your time with us today.
My mic sounds nice. This is Aaron. And if you don't know that you don't know nothing, then you really don't know anything. Because when you know something, it's when you realize you don't know anything.
Facts.
Facts. Facts. My man out here philosophizing.
For real, for real.
No doubt. What's good, brothers?
Nothing, my man. Nothing at all. The world is topsy-turvy.
True. The world
Gas
is
costs,
topsy-turvy.
home heating, I should say, has lost its mind. People talking that their bills are twice what they used to be.
Hey.
Yeah, it's hitting everybody. Yeah, the world, the snow, the weather.
We got snowstorms from 1977 out here on the East Coast.
No doubt.
We got cops arresting people. Cops in snowball fights with kids.
Yeah.
Actually, not even kids. That's
Then they come out and said that's illegal to throw snowballs at cops, right?
And I'm like, okay, that is like a time-honored tradition. I mean, typically it's at the cars.
New York City mayor.
That's only New York, man.
At the cars?
No, well, at the cars and at the police.
Yeah.
Because we threw them at cars. We used to throw them at buses.
Yeah. I mean, we threw it at a car once, and the dude got out and chased us.
Yeah.
And we were running, and my man's father came out and was like, "Yo, where y'all going?" We went running past him. He's like, "Yo, where y'all going?" It's like,
Yeah.
Well, what we used to do, I was witnessing, I didn't have the heart to do it, was we would open the fire hydrants to play in the water. And then if a car came by or a bus came by, you would take an open can and soak the car. And especially because it was hot. And so you would have people scrambling and try to close the bus windows. And there was a couple of incidences that bus driver would jump out and everybody would run. But at least there was enough respect of adults that we would run from them. I think today... A group of young people would be like, what?
Yeah, they want to square up. Yeah.
I just hope they don't learn what we learned when we were young about the difference between a snowball and an ice ball. Like
or putting the rocks in them.
Yeah, they might not have enough. They might not see enough snow. But we were well versed in making those ice balls, and getting hit with an ice ball is a lot different than getting hit with a snowball.
Or if
it's like basically a rock. It's basically a water rock.
Or if you're playing in the snow and you not paying attention to the ice on the bottom and you drop somebody and they break their ankle, you have to sit down with their dad. Yeah. So, all right, let's get into the show. Yeah. I'm having flashbacks.
All right, let's get into the show. We're going to start off in England. Recently, at the BAFTA Awards, a controversy arose when nominee John Davidson, who has Tourette syndrome, blurted out the N-word while Delroy Lindy and Michael B. Jordan were on stage. I will say a significant percentage of the Black community took issue with the incident. Some people were calling it racist. A lot of things was going on online, offline, just a lot of conversations about it. And we figured we would dive into it and kind of give you our opinion. I think I can say just straight off the top, we understand that he's disabled and we're not blaming him.
I think that's not ableist. That's yeah.
Huh?
I said we're not ableist.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Got you. Yeah, I want to make sure if I say something wrong, blame it on my head, not my heart. If I say something ableist, yeah, if I say something wrong when I want to fight, that's me.
That's the difference between Reggie Jackson and Kev. I know that I probably have the least to share, so I'm going to go first to get it out the way before the gloves come on. And nobody on this show has that different ability. So what is being said, you will be held fully accountable for what comes out of your mouth. The initial response I just heard was the internet response, and so it's shock. And then what I thought was interesting was there was actually a number of Black people who got online who had Tourette's, but also have this special condition of Tourette's, something that starts with a C, that would trigger blurting out these terms in those particular settings. So I thought it was interesting to hear them come out and say that. And so for me, I thought that that was really cool. I would wish that if something was being presented where a Black person was being viewed as being out of pocket and rude, that there would be that same level of support uh, given to kind of explain what took place. And I just wonder how Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan felt hearing that, like in that moment, because in that moment you don't necessarily know what is happening. You're just being triggered by the word, which lets us know that words will forever have power.
Yeah, I think the correct pronunciation is Copro Lilia.
Okay, I knew it was C something. So
Yeah, it's
yes.
yeah. It's spelled Coprolalia.
Okay,
Uh, so I
I'll
think
go.
it's
I'll go.
Coprolalia.
I'll go with your pronunciation.
Yes. So for me, the first thing that disturbed me about this was people jumping out the window uh immediately in our community. And it's before I even had a feeling on it, I actually looked up, Tourette's and did some investigation. But people like, Jamie Foxx and Jamel Hill in
So,
particular.
so Aaron, please don't lose your track.
Go ahead.
When you first heard about it, you already knew that the individual had Tourette's.
By the time I heard about it, by the time it came to me, it was that a person with Tourette's said this.
So by the time, so your initial receipt of it had that additional information.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I was just only saying that because I heard about the event before hearing that the individual who said it had Tourette's. So my initial was jumping out the window. Well, that was the type of responses I was seeing on the onset. It wasn't until the next day that it came out. So go ahead.
Yeah. So when I heard Jamie Foxx and Jamel Hill respond, you heard comments like, I think Jamie Foxx said something, I had it earlier here, but it was something to the effect of, he meant that. Like, yeah, he may have Tourette's, but he meant that deep down. And Jamel Hill's comments were of similar ilk. And that disturbed me because when you look up the condition of Tourette that he has, which I believe is only 10% of the Tourette population, you actually are saying the most inappropriate thing that you can think of. And so, in fact, and one of the things that really made me like go have complete sympathy and understanding was that if you're on a plane, people have been known to shout bomb on the plane, which is the most inappropriate thing you could say. And clearly that's not something a normal person would think. And to me, that is a perfect example of how the compulsion to say the most offensive thing is really what's going on and the only thing that's going on. And I read an article of a young woman who was actually connected to the movie also, and she was like, all of the good of the movie has been undone by this incident. And she was like, I have I have the same condition. I'm in a wheelchair, but if I see another person with a wheelchair, I will say the most in, uh, inappropriate, offensive things about people in wheelchairs. And she lives in a wheelchair. So to me, I thought it was a moment for us to understand as a marginalized community. And I didn't feel like there was a lot of understanding going on. I have more to say, but I'll let Kevin.
Do you think we're there at that point now? Do you think well, I'll come back to that. If you think that the understanding has evolved throughout as the week moved on. When I first heard about the case, it was probably before it was aired. I just happened to be on Twitter doing something, and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting to do with it." And I'm like, but there was no video of it at this point in time. So I was like, "Yeah, I'm wondering if I'm going to see it." Then later on that evening, there was the video. My first question, because I didn't know anything about. I mean, I know Tourette's. I didn't know about the particular one that he had and the compulsion. My first thought was, did you say that when there was other people on the stage? Like, did you make that phrase when there was white people on stage? That was my first question, which I think is a fair question to ask. I ain't jump out no window. I think just my inquiring minds want to know.
And that was clearly corrected once you understood that
right. No, not correct, not corrected. It wasn't a wrong impression. It was a question.
No, but once you ask the question, you know the answer is
you're right. So I know the answer. I'm like, okay, got you. So then to me, and then they talked about the apology. I think there's a lot of things a lot of dynamics that are at work here. Yes. I think that as Black people, we have been victims of racist acts, of racist words, and they tell us it's not racist for this reason. This person has a Black friend, Black this. They've done work in this community. So I think that oftentimes they tell us that it's not racist for a particular reason, and we just supposed to accept it. So I think there's going to be an initial reluctance because this is the playbook that typically happens, and people are going to be like, I don't know about that. One, I think, two, I take it that even though it's part of the disease, it does have an impact on you. Like I can think about the first time that I was called it in, in different settings, in different places, it definitely has an impact. And I know, it's fine as people in our community, we use it amongst each other, but that's different, right? We all know that that's different because of the context of who we are in relationships to each other, as opposed to somebody saying it in a demeaning way, so to speak. Now, there were a number of people. I looked at Wendell Pierce. He put a quote out about, he said his condition doesn't excuse the harm that was caused. And he thought the media apology was due to them from the BBC and BAFTA. And he's not talking about the dude doing the immediate thing. The production designer for Ryan Coogler talked about how, she was just upset about the situation. It happened 3 times that night. She said they called, he did it to her directly at one point, did it to another woman at the dinner, and then another time. So it's like, it's different. I'm not even going to say it's something that has to be balanced because there's no win here, right? He said it. It's part of his disease. It's a symptom of his disease. It's not. And as people, I don't know how we reconcile. I think everybody just gets hurt in this situation. I don't think there's any other way where we can get around that.
I think I have couple of things. First, I think the most the best situation would be that we lived in a world where if someone from who has Tourette's has a tick response, that we as a society know that we need to not have any feelings about what is said. That would be the world that we would live in which that disabled community has full ability to live in a society and not have to worry about social norms. That society bends for the Tourette's community and makes allowances. That would be the a perfect world to me. I also feel like the black community is a marginalized community. And if we, as a marginalized community, want our concerns to be acknowledged, to be respected, to be given validation, then we have to extend that to other marginalized communities. Otherwise, it's just lip service saying, hey, treat me better. You know, you've wronged me, treat me better, as opposed to I have to stand up for all marginalized communities and have them given the respect that they need. And I think that black people have been victims so much, they treated this as an issue of racism, which is not, over the mentioning of a racist word. And that's what occurred. A racist word was mentioned, but this was not an issue that had anything to do with racism. But all of the response, even your response, Kevin, is one of dealing with racism. And this isn't about racism at all.
Okay. I think that you're I, context matters about everything.
Intent matters.
Context matters about everything. I don't care. I don't care about the intent. The context of how something happens also matters.
Okay.
The
Good.
the context of, like, I get you, and this is a thing where I think that you're, just because they didn't mean it doesn't mean that it has impact. Doesn't mean that it will have no
Doesn't
impact.
have an impact.
It doesn't have an impact on the person that heard
Let's
it.
talk about the impact. Let's really talk about the impact. Let's be honest. Let's have an honest conversation about how we're impacted when someone says the N word in society.
Depends on the setting. Depends on the setting.
And it matters most when someone is saying it to you in a harmful way, and even more so in a way of violence, which is how it was, which is how the N word was
I'm not
infused
gonna.
by our
I'm
community.
Aaron. I'm not. I'm not. I'm definitely not gonna say that. I'm definitely not gonna say that. I've walked the streets. Upstate growing up. I've walked the streets, and somebody just said it driving by. Right
Hmm.
now, there was no violence behind it. They just said it. It's
No,
like,
I said that's the
no,
worst
no,
case
no,
scenario.
no, 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 no. But I want you to, right, and it had it impacted me on a different way. I was in Binghamton coming back from a track meet in high school.
But what is that impact? Talk about it. Let's get to the nitty gritty.
Emotionally,
Made you emotionally upset, right?
yeah. But I'm saying, it happens at different times, in a different setting. I've had people say to me, I've been in a setting with wealthy people, and somebody said to me, I manage a hedge fund. Do you know what that means? That felt worse than somebody saying the N word, and I wanted to
Exactly.
fight the dude.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. I
no, no.
understand.
So my. So I say that to say, depending on place, setting, context, what have you, I can't tell you how you want to feel, or how somebody should feel about the N word, because time and place matters
All I'm saying is
in the context.
I think that in 2026 we are in a we are in a time frame where the use of the N word matters in the sense of that we need to police it because it's a standard of treatment, and I'm not going to allow you to dehumanize me. However, in terms of real, actual impact, I think Black people have heard the use of the N word, that we have adapted ourselves. to have a thick skin. I don't think somebody was at home crying because they watched the BAFTA awards and it was like, I can't believe that happened. I think it might have made black people angry. I think it might have been frustrating. I think it's a line in the sand that we need to hold. But in terms of actual damage, it is different. It is different than when our ancestors were being hung and called that at the same
But
time.
you can't say that because I mean
The average black person is actually was harmed him.
no
in
no
a
no
way
no
that
we you said no one like you was like
no.
nobody
What I'm
was
saying
you
is
said
that
nobody would watch that and potentially and be brought to tears. Now certain things like I think one of the a couple of points we don't get to create and implement an impact meter like well this shouldn't hurt, this should only impact you to this point because sometimes maybe somebody's watching that, they hear that, it takes them to a place that it may not take any of us. I can't say that individual is wrong. And the other thing I'll say, I
that's not what I'm
do
saying. Though that's not what I'm saying.
no you said
You say that
you
What
said
people
I'm
want
nobody
impact.
should cry, huh?
my point is not that there weren't individual people hurt, but that we as a community, if we're going to be honest, have moved beyond hearing the N word used in racist situations, in that we as an entire community are impacted greater than us holding the respect line that I'm not going to be marginalized by anyone. Our community is not going to be marginalized by anyone. But I'm talking about real emotional damage. And the reason I bring up the real emotional damage is because this was not a racist action. This was not,
All right. I
and
think
that's important.
I,
That's
I, I, I,
important.
but
And
I think wait. I think the issue is we've already covered that we don't think it's a racist and that it was racist. That we don't think we don't think that he's
I'm moving
racist,
quiet in this room. But go ahead.
huh? Yeah.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
camera one.
Yeah. I go ahead, man.
Um. Right. So we've already said that. I think that I think there's more focus on him. And I think the reason that people are more hurt is because how BAFTA and the BBC handled the situation, fumbled the situation. We
But they
haven't.
did apologize, right? You know they apologized.
How, how did it wind up on the screen? How,
They
how
they removed they removed one racial response to him, but they did not remove uh that one. But they caught others. They caught
yeah,
others.
they caught others. They caught the homophobic slurs. They caught the other things. How did that one make it online when we knew about it before it was published?
Yeah,
Like before,
and they apologized. They apologized.
didn't you see the evolving apology? Like the first apology. I
BAFTA
think
is
wait. I think there's a couple of
BAFTA is
things.
wrong.
I think right off the bat when the dude came in and said, apologize if you're offended. That's a trick. That is a trigger for people, particularly
Yes.
black people, if you're offended from the stage. I know he didn't intend it that way, but that's a trigger. And then then you go through the show and you find out that bam, it made it into the recording. And then as we go through the week, then it's like, well, Warner Brothers reached out, and BAFTA's like kind of quiet. Now then they start catching heat. Then they're like, no, we told the BBC to take this out and all these. So I'm saying the reasons have been evolving. And as it continues to evolve, if I get one iteration, then a new iteration, then a new iteration, then it's like, well, what's going on here? I don't know what the malfeasance is. I'm not saying, but it makes it hard to believe because y'all have continually played in our face over and over and over again.
I think that this is an opportunity, and it's a failed opportunity for the black community to just have extended grace to another marginalized disabled
You
community.
want the grace to? I think that we've reached that point. I'm talking about the BBC, BAFTA, and all these,
All right, they're
and
wrong.
all these people,
They're
all these
wrong.
people.
They're wrong. but I don't know that and the nickel will get you a 5 cent piece of candy. They're wrong. They didn't apologize correctly. It was an evolving situation. What BAFTA told the BBC was told. It was lost in the translation. You know, if I'm the editor, maybe I'm told there's a racist thing. I edit one, not realizing there's another, and I leave it in there. You know, like I don't really. To me, that's not really that important.
It is. It
They
is.
messed up.
It is. But
They messed up.
you might be so blind to racism as as a person that's not part of a marginalized community. You might be so blind to it that you don't even really hear it. You don't pick up. You ignore certain things.
Or is it possible, Kevin, that the editor thought that there was only one incident, he edited it and thought that that was good? Is that possible too?
It could
That
be possible, but the fact that you continue to lie, if you give me Trump type excuses where it's this, oh no, it's that, oh no, it's this, oh no, it's that, the way as we work through the week, then yeah, that's a bad job for public relations, for people that are in public relations and media. That is the worst of the
but
worst.
I don't think, to me, honestly, I don't think that was why we were discussing this. BAFTA and
To me, that's
and the
to me that's why
BBC.
I'm jumping out, because it speaks to the larger issue of how racism can
I
play
think
out and how it can impact us.
I
And I'm
think
not
that
talking about John Davison. He's
I,
good.
I think that there are bigger issues at play. I think that we as a community need to be laser focused on when we deal with racist issues so that when real things of real harm come along, that we can respond to them. So when a young black man is killed by the police, or we have a real racist incident that we know is impacting the community, that when we respond to that, we don't sound like white noise or the boy who cried wolf about 8 million things. So in this instance, I would have appreciated our community giving grace and not a young woman who was in the film feeling like, wow, all the good work of this film has been undone, because there's another marginalized community that has been hurt by this. And it's most important, if we are to have a moral leg to stand on as black people, we've got to stand with other marginalized communities
See,
and respect and acknowledge their pain.
but that's not
And
that's
in,
not that's not
and in this
reciprocated.
situation,
That's not reciprocated to us.
it doesn't matter. It
It
doesn't
does.
matter.
It
It
all
doesn't
right.
So
matter.
it's like, so you're basically
If you're
telling,
standing on a moral high ground, it doesn't matter if other people have moral feelings.
understand. I understand it, but to basically you're going at from a, it's like, well, this is what is hurting me the most because this is what I am. And then it's always we're the ones supposed to extend grace, and we're the ones supposed to extend grace. But then in those moments when it becomes us and we got to ride, when we look to our left and right, oftentimes all we see is us. And the other thing that I'll say, because we got to wrap this segment, is that laser focus when the things become, I guess, the big issue. That doesn't mean that we overlook the seed. That for me, it would be okay, that condition causes you to say that. What is it that's in society that has created the normalization for that even to be the trigger for you to say? That it's like, okay, if your condition has you blurt things out.
The most inappropriate things,
And
also in the most socially, just to understand the condition, in the most, so you have a high pressure situation like an award show. That condition, you are more likely to do something in that condition, I mean, in that situation, because it's even more highly inappropriate.
I know, but to know what's inappropriate had to come from somewhere.
Yeah, but I mean, that's any inappropriate could be anything. Of course, there's racist words.
Well, I
There's
mean, when you say
there's
inappropriate, could be anything, but there were certain things. I'm just saying, if we're having this conversation to move it off of just this individual, it still is letting you know in 2026 there's still certain things that are deemed inappropriate that have hundreds of years history there. So then people can still feel how they feel when they hear it.
But wouldn't it be better if, at least to me, the highest elevation of society would be that we was in that audience. That person said whatever inappropriate thing they said. That we had the intellectual capacity to understand the social norms that I have to take offense to this shouldn't even enter into my brain, and I'm not even going to be offended by any of this because it is not meaningful in a way. I don't need to take somebody with Tourette's off a plane because they said bomb, or if another wheelchair person is offended by that young woman talking about other people being in a wheelchair, that we say, you know what, that's part of the condition. I'm going to use my big boy brain, extend grace, and move on.
Yeah,
I think
isolated
that's
it.
the highest version of society that we could have.
But we're not there, and you isolating the situations as again, like you skipping the context. Find the word was said, a symptom of his thing. You're skipping the context of the poor apology, which could be triggered. You're skipping the context of how
He
then.
apologized. And
Hold
what I'm
on, bro.
saying is, I said to you,
I
if you
said
want to talk about BAFTA, if you want to talk about BAFTA and BBC, I said it 3 times. They messed up. But what I'm saying to you is that really ain't that important. And in a way, it's almost intellectually dishonest because that is not how Black people responded or what they cared about. They didn't care about BAFTA. They didn't care about the BBC. They cared about what was said in that award show. They reacted.
I'm not going to speak to what Black people cared about. I'm telling you what I cared about.
All right. Well, what made the news?
I understand, but I got to take social media with a grain of salt. But I'm telling you what I cared about and how I care
I'm
about
talking
it.
about what moved the needle, Kevin, and what was talked about was
I
not
understand.
BAFTA, was not BBC.
It was no.
When you get Wendell Pierce,
No. You're wrong. But we gonna move on. But it moved from him quickly to the way that the apology came out and what the BBC and BAFTA, how they responded to those two. That's where it moved to.
BBC and BAFTA took all week long to change and grow. Most people responded within the first 2 or 3 days, Kevin. So all the information wasn't out. So that's not true.
Aaron, I watched it in live time. But I'm saying the point was, where was the BBC? Where was BAFTA? That was what was initially said. I watched it in real time. I watched it happen from before the moment occurred. I mean, before the moment was aired on there, before it came to America, before the clip even came out.
I just think that this will be the final thing. We as a community have an opportunity and had an opportunity to handle this and extend grace, even if other people don't extend us grace, but to be the best example of humanity that we want and that we almost demand other people to be. It's hard. You really don't morally have a leg to stand on if you don't extend what you want people to extend to you.
I'm gonna put it like this, right? For those people that are still mad at John Davison, you're ill-informed. You're ill-informed. But to be angry at the BBC, to be angry at BAFTA, for.
But you still want an apology for something that was a
racist. Who do I want an apology from? Who do I want an apology?
It wasn't a racist statement.
Who do I want an apology from? Wait, no, stop. Who do I want an apology from?
BAFTA or BBC. But my point is,
ultimately
the need for an apology is what I'm saying is for someone issuing a statement that can be deemed racist.
No. Absolutely not.
Why?
Absolutely not. Because they did wrong. Because because they have a job, right? Standards and practices. They got a job to make sure that certain things occur, that certain things are left out of the thing. They fell down on the job. By falling down on the job, then you double the intent. They are the one. They are the ones. If the Tourette's community is their moment has been taken away. One of the reasons that their moment has been taken away is because how the BBC and BAFTA, what they did, had it been edited it out, we would have known about it. They could have explained it and we could have moved on. But because of how they responded to the situation, they took a situation which was a symptom of his disease and turned it into this one great big kerfuffle.
And what I'm saying to you, Kevin, is that why is there even a need for an apology when
from them? From them?
What I'm saying
from them, because they didn't do their job. Because they didn't do their job. You try, man, you trying to gaslight me, man. Nah.
What I'm saying is that if he was on an airplane and he yelled bomb, we don't need to come get him off the plane with security.
And I say nothing had to happen to that man.
And no, but what
everybody got a job. Everybody got a job to do.
What I'm saying that the apology is the same thing as getting security on the plane. It's reacting to what is said. And what I'm saying is that once we understand that there was no racist intent in the situation, and it's not actually really a racially charged situation, does it even really require an apology?
Yes.
Because we
yes, that's insane. Hell yeah.
Now we've been informed.
Hell yeah.
Now we've been informed.
It's okay. All right. Now we definitely going to disagree on that point.
And that's my ultimate. And let me finish, and then I'm done. That's my ultimate point. Is that underneath all of this, there is this undercurrent that really Black people still have a problem with what was said. And at the very core, no matter how many layers you get to it, people still have a problem with what was said.
They have a problem with the word. They have a problem with when white people utter the word. Absolutely.
And that is not applicable to this situation. And that
it is when it's aired. It is when it could have been mitigated and they didn't mitigate it. And people are responsible for that.
I just wish that we was operating on a higher intellectual plane without any emotional connection to this. And if we do, and if you just deal in logic, you shouldn't feel any offense. You shouldn't. If you just
I shouldn't feel offended by the BBC and BAFTA. All right, I'm done.
No,
I'm done. I'm walking away. I'm walking away. You know what? Jamani Williams, my public advocate for New York City. I voted for him twice. He also has the Tourette's and cool. Corporal Aliyah.
Yeah. Well, we're just gonna have to agree to disagree.
Nah, we're gonna fight.
I'm asking us to be our best version of ourselves. I'm asking us to rise above a situation. I'm asking us to shoot bail and grace to everybody because this wasn't a racist incident. It was a racial incident. And I think we should make those distinctions.
I think you Fox News in me, man. I feel like you Fox News in me. Wow. BAFTA, BBC. But you know what? We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. Because you know what? I'm an older Black man.
Yes.
And like many older Black men. Recently there was a clip with Clifton Powell, actor Clifton Powell. You know the face. He's been in many things from Fridays to
wasn't he in Menace too?
Yeah, Friday, Menace, Dead Prez, Law and Order. He's all over the place, right? So
always playing a character with an attitude.
Always playing a character with an attitude. And then we found out maybe he's not acting.
Yeah, we did. If a camera's on, so is he.
It's go time. Yeah, so so there was this roundtable discussion they had, kind of like the Jubilee things, and it was a bunch of Black men talking about supporting how do you show up in support for Black women? And
was it show up in support or love?
I think there were a couple of different topics that were going on. But I think where it got heated was the love part, right?
Okay.
And it was talking about how do you love Black women was the section. And I guess Clifton Powell has had a difficult time. Recently realized that he was living life wrong, and he didn't know, just based on his experiences. How I grew up, he was treating women or his love of his life or his wife in a particular way. And now that he started going through therapy, learning, he became better.
It was
Younger
trust
black
black
person.
women was the
Hmm?
was it was trust black women was the
Trust black woman was the topic. Okay.
yeah.
And then there was a younger black man, and he's was like, "See, that's what's wrong with y'all. When y'all get old, you you want to go back and you want to try to fix things. You want to suddenly take accountability when you get into your 60s and 70s, but it's too late." And then sparks began to fly, and they got heated. There's a heated conversation going back and forth, and it kind of got the internet talking about it. And it was interesting because I guess a bunch of young people on the internet in social media spaces, they were like, "Yeah, this young dude is right. Black people, black men don't take responsibility until they're older." And it was an interesting conversation. So we figured we'd dive in as we're not gonna call ourselves older black men, but seasoned black men.
Yeah. No, the one thing I noticed in rewatching it is that young black man is hurt, and he's responding to trauma because he says, "My daddy." He said something about my father hasn't been around.
For
I haven't
six
seen my
years.
father 7 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So he's upset
6 years
about
and I don't give a F.
yeah, and I don't yeah. So he's upset about what's going on with his father, and he don't want to shoot bail to his father, which you know, I would say to that young man, he should shoot bail to his father because when you shoot bail to your father, you're shooting bail to yourself. Um, but it was really disappointing that young people are not looking at this situation like I can learn from my elders. Where when we grew up, our elders were everything to us. And there was a hierarchy, there was a respect factor, and that respect through generations has been learned because the older you get, the more wisdom you have. And I don't think that young people today are running around thinking that elders have wisdom. And maybe that's failure on our part. Maybe it's failure on their part. Maybe it's a combination. Maybe it's social media. But that is a really detrimental thing when the youth are not willing to learn from the elders. Like you end up losing all of this generational knowledge that's been passed down, over sometimes hundreds of years and you don't even realize it. So that was really disappointing to see.
A couple of things. One, words have so much power, and I think sometimes we don't understand what it is that we're saying. So the whole notion of I'm not going to shoot him bail, like the legal, like think of that for a moment. Like for us as black men, and what the justice system has done to us, that we have equated mercy, going to your last segment, grace, forgiveness, understanding. We have taken all of that and called it shooting bail. But let that joint ride there for a minute.
Mm.
Hugely problematic. Not saying that this young man invented it, but it came from somewhere. And but I will say, in looking at the clip, which is also the danger of social media, they will take the most sensationalized clip and then make you make a full opinion from it. That there is a level of self control and awareness that I'm going to say for the elder, we have to operate on. That when that young person is being led by their emotion, we can't meet their emotion with emotion, because then you're just going to get the yelling and all of those things. So in that moment, just like you was able to see, there was hurt there, we got to be emotionally aware enough to be able to pivot to see that, because then at some point the exchange has to be about hearing and
I
listening.
think it depends on the age too.
What do you mean?
Like I feel that way when you're talking about somebody under 25. But I don't know if a 35-year-old man coming at me that I need to extend him.
But the
I
truth of the matter is that
I don't.
here's the thing. Okay, let's keep it a buck. That 35-year-old man, we are all old enough where that 35-year-old could be our son. So
Yeah.
so I think I'm not gonna get caught up on the number game either way, because all 57, 58-year-olds aren't as astute and mindful as I try to be, and we all try to be. But if that 35-year-old is talking about not shooting bail, and that 35-year-old is coming from that place of hurt, which may be even more rooted because there's probably a longer extended period of time, I'm going to hope that I'm going to be able to navigate that in a way where I'm seeing a reflection of myself when I'm hollering at that 35-year-old. Because I mean, I know how I was feeling in particular about my dad at 35. So I'm that's
Yeah,
the
but
position I'm gonna.
I'm talking about the yelling and coming at me
No,
a certain
so
way. Like
I know, but Clifton
I
Powell
can't
met
do it.
that yelling. He met that yelling with yelling. He didn't check him on the he didn't check him on his yelling.
Well,
He just continued to yell.
but that's that how he responded is different. I'm not even talking about that. I'm just saying for me, a younger person, I feel like I have an obligation when you under 25 for me to find a way to communicate with you because you don't have the tools and the skills. But
So
you a
why
grown man,
why are you
you a grown man at 35,
why are
man.
you choosing what's the milestone of 25 so that from
Because
26 on
because your
all
brain
gloves off?
because your
Because you off your
brain
parents' insurance.
no because
26.
your brain because your frontal lobe is fully developed at 25. That's the age when it's fully developed.
I mean, for me, it was yeah, the young man was definitely coming from a place of hurt. Um, I think the young people have to recognize that they have tools. They've had tools their entire life, which older people have never had. We have, in comparison to our parents, to my father, I've got a bunch of emotional. My toolkit is massive compared to what he had. Compared to what he had, you compare it to my son, I've got nothing. I'm a Neanderthal, and so I think that these younger people, particularly young people now that therapy, dealing with your emotional well being, and all of those things matter where they didn't matter for us. So I think there has to be an understanding. One of the things is we don't really have a third space where we are all together. Where older black men and younger black people are together, sitting and having these intergenerational conversations. And the other thing is the way that they went at each other. If you notice, none of the other black men really responded in any like fearful way. They recognized it as this is how conversations go. This is how emotional, heated
And
conversations
one of
go.
the guys actually even said, having an argument is necessary.
Yeah.
Um, I just think that
But it doesn't play like that for social media. Everybody gets an opinion, and we also recognize one of the things we also always have to recognize is that some of the things that we see on social media that are responding for black people are not even black people. I don't know if you noticed yesterday there was or 2 days ago there was this dude, a White House intern, not a White House employee, was running some major black Twitter account that just got outed. That he was a white guy and he's stoking the flame. So I mean, we always got to recognize those things.
oh yeah, and Russia, because Russia, you think you signing up for Black Lives Matter, and it's some Russians in Siberia playing with your head, uh, causing arguments and fanning the flames. No, I I I I have a hard time where, because I grew up in a world, in a rigid world in which I respected my elders. It wasn't asked for, it was demanded. Children were, um,
It was part of your character
y-
development.
yes. So I think a 36-year-old talking to a elder in his community like he means nothing, and that you have all the answers, and it's like you couldn't be any more wrong by thinking that you know at 35 what is correct for a 60 and 70-year old. I know now that at 50, whatever I am,
7.
57,
Tell the
that
truth.
no, I mean,
I'm just
I
messing
really
with you.
don't. I
I just
stopped counting years ago. Um,
embrace it.
I only know. No,
I
I
count
just don't
for you.
care. I really just don't care.
I'm counting for you. Go ahead.
No, no, I hear you. Um, that uh, I know nothing of what it's like to be in my late 60s or 70s. So I'm definitely not going to be telling anybody of that age what it feels like,
How they should be doing it.
how they should be doing it, or how they should be healing. And I really do think, I said I was kidding before, but I was serious. The older you get, the more you realize that the world is so complex and there's so much to it that you will never get to the point where you master things. And unfortunately, our young people think that they hear a lot of academic terms used in everyday vernacular, and they think that, all right, well, I have understanding. I know what trauma means. I know what triggered means. I know what, and you may have a basic
Post
understanding
neoliberalism.
or a conceptual understanding, but you don't have a true academic understanding of these words, that and from the communities that they've evolved from, that they originated from. You really don't know. So you're running around with half the knowledge, if that, and thinking you're well informed, and it's putting our young people in a position in which they feel they are better prepared for situations than they really are.
Well, I just think overall, I mean, because the topic we was looking at was this notion of this generational divide, and when he's saying people trying to change their lives at 60 and 70 and get right, that it's too late. That's clearly incorrect.
Yes.
um, and I just believe, I do believe there's definitely standards of engagement. So there should have been a checking on both sides, but I also believe in modeling what it is that I'm going to hold people to. But sometimes emotions get the best of you, and I think we're in a space now where between uh, the explosion of podcasting and roundtables, you throw people together and have conversations. I mean, honestly, today, I think there was parts of the time where our conversation was really heated, but there's so much love that I know is there between you all. I'm never gonna worry. I think sometimes when they put these individuals together, I really don't know. I wasn't afraid that they was gonna jump up and start fighting, but I just think the
It looked like it could have gone bad.
exactly. And real talk, for a lot of people, that exchange could be triggering to the point where then you're losing sight of what's even said because you are just hearing
I can see
rah,
that.
rah, 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 rah,
Uh,
and
I can
that
see it.
could trigger
That's how my
your
father used to talk to me, type stuff.
your own experiences, excuse me, your own experiences that then take you left. And so if you're going to talk in a space where you potentially can be heard, that increases the wherewithal. Like the last thing I'll say, Kev, you was talking about place and space. I'm always mindful when I'm in the classroom, and this isn't just because they're under 25, but because I know that I'm in a classroom. That setting is different than us here on the pod versus us having a conversation without any microphones. And so for me, that is where I feel was opportunity lost, because like that was really wild. Like in the street, people can get shot for less exchanges than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that overall, I appreciated the conversation kind of being illuminated because I think it's something that we need to talk about. For me, the takeaway is more just about the intergenerational sharing that is no longer happening with men, with black men, like we talked about earlier, and we'll close it out like with the barbershop. How we got a lot of our stuff in the barbershop.
Yeah.
Now, because you got to sit for hours. Now you make appointments, so you're only there for maybe an hour. If you got a decent barber, if you got one that doesn't care about time, you still could be there for hours. But that intergenerational mix arguments and things, plus everybody's on their phone, it's just different. Like when you were in the barbershop, it was just hours of conversation because that's all you had to do.
And growing up in the projects, it was even beyond the barbershop.
Yeah.
And I was, Aaron, you had talked about, just respect for elders and growing up. I think the landscape of our community has changed so vastly that you don't go outside. Like I remember going outside and there would be certain parts of the bench that the older people sat, whether they was playing chess or the moms, so while you're out there in the park and you're running around, if I saw your dad and we lived in the same, oh, hi, Mr. Lloyd, or hey, Mr. Williams, and it just may be a quick exchange, but it's at least knowing while I'm playing, that person is there. Or then when my dad may come home from work, as opposed to going straight into the house, he might be like, hey, like now that really doesn't happen. Most of the time you walk out your house with your earbuds in, you're on your phone, and you're living in these silos, and all of those in the grand scheme of things added to our comfortability and understanding of just how to engage with adults, and for adults, how to engage with young people.
Tim, as you say that, I used to work on a block where there was a project, and there used to be benches in front of each unit.
Yeah.
Then they came over, they refurbished it. They took away the benches and they put cameras out there, and the cameras will trigger. If you stand there for more than a minute, you'll hear a voice will come out and say, hey, you were illegally loitering.
Yes.
Move along. If you don't move, the precinct will come to move you. So it's like they actually eliminated that third space.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow. All right, y'all. It's time for a little extended version of the Robinson Report.
Much needed.
Much needed. We're going to talk about those things that are giving you life.
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson was already mad earlier, so it's all about life. So, what are the things you listening to? What's on your playlist? It could be anything, whether it's TV, books, music.
Right now, because professionally, trying to just make some decisions and work through some things, I'm listening to what's going on. I always go to that album. It just always speaks to me. That's giving me life. And my students, we've been going through a series where we were taking the different elements of hip hop and just having experiential activities. So I had one of my former students who is a DJ and a producer. So we got on Beat Lab. And so the students were chopping up samples to make beats. And then another one of my students, she dances. So then they was line dancing in the classroom, and then they were sharing dances that came from the regions that they grew up from. So it was really interesting seeing how the breaking of our generation has evolved geographically in the 2000s. And then we just was focusing on MCing, and we took Lupe Fiasco's Kick Push, and then they all created extended metaphors, and so just sharing their rhymes. So my students through hip hop have been giving me life these past couple of weeks. So between that and Marvin, that's where I've been.
That's what's up.
What you been doing, because we need to see a smile on your face, because you looking like this is my last show.
Yeah. And you know what? I meant to bring my boxing gloves, but I left them. So I meant to bring props.
I'm listening to J. Cole, The Fall Off. I definitely,
And don't you drive a Honda?
you know,
Don't you?
yeah,
Don't you? A?
yeah, yeah,
All right,
Yeah.
go ahead. I just want to say,
yeah.
shout out to Cole.
Well,
Yo,
you need to bring you need your wife to bring back her Civic.
you know, for real. You know, I almost feel like it's an album that, it's the only thing that is more or was more anticipated as an album is Detox. And we've been hearing about this album for a decade at least. And even on the KOD, he got a song talking about the fall off, or in the title. So I think it's one of those situations where it's hard to live up to expectations. And I like the album a lot. I think there's some really great things on there. You know, for him to do I used to love her, and I love her again, and add to what was really a perfect song. And generally, when you go and try and address something that was perfect, you mess it up when you touch it. We've seen it with people trying to do makeovers and songs and things of that nature.
Yeah,
It's like somebody doing What's Going On
yeah. It's like
over, like,
like nobody in the studio told you this wasn't a good idea.
yeah,
You ain't
exactly,
got no friends.
exactly. But I really think he pulled it off. I for what he did, I think he pulled it off. And there's a lot of songs on this album that I really enjoy. Um, I do think that maybe it shouldn't have been a double album.
I was
Uh,
gonna ask you, do you think it was a little too long?
yeah, like if he had given us 15, 17 songs and called it a day, it might have been better. And also, I think Cole, you know, they're enamored with doing that in-house production, and I think sometimes he's better served with
Outside.
outside producers. I've always felt that way. Uh, but I'm digging it. Kevin put me on to the Baby Keem new album, so I just started listening to that yesterday.
Okay.
So I'm liking what I'm hearing so far. I'm not really a Baby Keem fan, but I appreciate Kevin putting me on to that. And last, I'm reading The Last Stone. Uh, it's a book by Mark Bowden, who I told you guys about. I was reading his last book, which was about the young Baltimore drug dealer. So I've always, like I said, I've always liked Mark Bowden books, and this is about a woman. I mean, two kidnapped young children, and basically cops interrogating the major suspect throughout the book. So those things are giving me life. I haven't finished the book yet, but it's typical Mark Bowden stuff. So if anybody out there likes what he does, um, Black Hawk Down, Guest of the Ayatollah, it's another one for him.
All right. For me,
What you got, Jax?
for me, Baby Keem, I'm definitely enjoying the Baby Keem. I tried to rock with the J. Cole. It is too long. I like to listen to albums in their kind of their totality. Like I like to give it a complete run through, like with one listen, like back in the day how we used to. But I guess we're not out in the streets
Yeah,
for
you
J.
ain't out.
Cole's. For
You ain't out. J Cole time I have you in Delaware.
yeah. So I guess I need a road trip or something to be able to handle that one.
Yeah,
But the Baby Keem I enjoy. I like a lot of introspective album stuff. Maybe it's my place. Maybe it's not the stage in my life, or maybe I just like something that's a little different.
it's
So
not it's not too late to change, Kev. I don't
is
care what my man said.
and, and and in there he talks about just kind of the abuse, the rough life that he had, dealing with his mother, in and out of rehab, jail, and those things. So it's kind of it's good. And it's only like 36 minutes. On the lighter side, I've been listening to Samara Joy, Three Little Words. 26-year-old jazz singer from the Bronx that Tim put me on to. Great singer. She already won multiple Grammys. She won a Grammy again the last time. So, she keeps racking up Grammys.
Yeah.
Real quick books. I read this book, Jill Lepore, We the People. It's about the history of the Constitution and kind of reframes the Constitution, how we think of it now as something that's static, how it was really made to continue to evolve. And it talks about all the times in which what they had to go through to get it to evolve through, through the Civil War, through the Civil Rights era, Boyd versus Brown. And it's very interesting. And, and if you listen to, or if you read the books like this, you'll see like, wow, they've been doing this for a long time, trying to deny people's rights. And one book that I'm just about to start reading this week, that I'm super excited for, is it's about Jackie Robinson and Paul Robeson. I'm trying to remember the name of this book. It's by Kings and Pawns, and it's about the intersection between Jackie Robinson and
Paul Robeson
and Paul Robeson, how they had to go before the McCarthy era through the House of Un-American Committee, and how they were actually opposed to one another and kind of what that did. And I'm super excited about it. Unfortunately, I missed Howard Bryant. He was at the Jackie Robinson Center a couple of weeks ago that I planned on going and totally slipped my mind and missed it. But that's kind of what's giving me life.
Was all establishment, and Paul Robeson,
wasn't.
Yeah. But Jack, but I mean, it's funny. I think they frame Jackie as establishment. When you think about it, Jackie really wasn't establishment.
I'm saying in their context.
Yeah, no. But I'm saying, which kind of goes to place of framing where I think for the human mind, we put things in boxes because it makes it easier. Makes it easier for us when we categorize things. But if we're more open to a wider interpretation of things in life, it would probably serve us well.
I will say this, as far as listening, and I don't know how I feel about the diss tracks and whether T.I. would ever battle 50 Cent or whatever, but his single that he came out with just reminded me that, like, in his day, like, yo, like, I really was rocking with T.I. And it also took me back to the Yankee Stadium at the 50th anniversary. Like, yo,
I did not realize
he did his thing. And so I feel like if on August 11th, 2023, you could rock the Bronx and have everybody with their hat tilt to the side, you doing your thing. So
yeah, I walked out of there like, was I a big T.I. fan? Did I miss that?
Yeah, it literally makes you feel like, yo, the early 2000s, what were we doing?
Was
they
I
like, yo,
sleeping on this dude?
We were having children, like we missed it. Like, we had to go back to the Rubber Band Man.
Yeah.
So
he
definitely was good. So, but yeah, man.
All right.
And even though the calendar says this is the end of Black History Month, we will continue to uplift, and we will continue to be Black, and we will continue to live in a way that we are making history. So it's the 100th anniversary of the recognition, but it's the 50th anniversary of the month, because we are all old enough that our early elementary school, it was Negro History Week.
That's a fact. All right.
What
Nothing. I'm like, yo, that's crazy.
I'm just saying, if I'm not mistaken, they probably put Negro on our birth certificates.
Yeah, I gotta go check that out.
I'm just thinking.
It's a possibility, man. It didn't say Black.
I was just saying we would, we look good. We got our minds sharp, but we 60s babies.
No doubt.
It was funny. Like I was at a school and like a teacher was walking around telling the students like, "Yo, I was born in the 1900s," but the way that came across, it just was like, "Yo, that would be ill on a hoodie." Like, "Y'all was born in the 1900s." Yeah. Like, I'm not the one.
Somebody said that. Yeah, I just heard that yesterday. Somebody said it as an insult to somebody.
Yeah,
you were born in the 1900s, and they meant it as an insult. Like,
yeah, see,
that's wild.
Context matters.
See, now I gotta fight you. You can call me the N-word, but you say that, and I might have to fight you.
It's gonna be a short fight because I was born in the 1900s.
I only got one. I'm like Don Zimmer. I only got one swing in me.
Yo, one hit a quitter. That's all that matters.
No doubt, y'all. So, this is Tim. My mic sounds nice. Until next time, peace.
My mic sounds nice. This is Kev.
My mic sounds nice. This is A. Peace. Another one in the can. Fellas, be well.
Be
Be
well.
well, y'all.
In
All
the
right,
can
y'all.
and kick it.
All right.
That's right. Peace.